What are the 5 questions you must answer when delivering your answer in an interview? Welcome back to Interview At, where we teach you how to use the Amazon leadership principles to land your dream job. It does not matter the role, it does not matter the level. If you use the principles we talk about here, you will show up better in your interviews. In last week's video, we talked about the 5 questions that you had to answer when setting up the situation and task portion of your answer. Now, we talk about the STAR format here. There's plenty of videos that you can go search for on YouTube if you want to understand the STAR format better. But in this week's video, we're going to talk about the action portion of your answer. And what we're actually going to go through are the 5 questions that you absolutely positively must answer when you are delivering on the action portion of what you did for whatever question that you got. For example, tell me about the most complex system you've ever designed. Tell me about a time where you had hard customer feedback and you had to make a change to a process or a feature or a product, right? Whenever you're walking through your answer, you're going to have your situation task, your action, your result. This is what I talk about. It's 3 parts, beginning, middle, and end. And right now we're talking about the middle part. As another reminder, we talk about having a beginning, a middle, and an end because that's the way the human brain works, right? We want linear storytelling. TV shows, plays, movies, all these things, books. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end. There was normal, something happened, new normal. That's just how the brain wants to process information. So don't make it harder on the interviewer by having this kind of weird nonlinear format, right? Walk them through it in a process that makes sense. 3 sections, beginning, middle, and end. Situation, task, that's the S and the T. Action, result. Today we're talking about the action. Another question I'm going to address here is, and I see it in the comments now, so I get a lot of emails, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it, is what is the right length of the answer? Well, the glib answer is your answer should only be as long as it needs to be and not 1 word longer. But let's just talk about in the context of these are the 5 questions I say you have to answer when you're delivering on the action portion of your interview response. If you do 5 questions and you answer each one of those within, call it 3 or 4 sentences, you're talking about 15 to 20 sentences. That is basically a page of text, or more or less 3 to 5 minutes of talking, depending on your cadence. For me, it's maybe a minute and a half because I know I speak fast. But you're basically talking about 3 minutes of talking for your beginning, middle, and end if you address each of the 5 questions I'm going to talk about, the ones I talked about last week, the ones I'm talking about this week, and the ones I'm talking about next week. Did you catch that? I'm doing a beginning, a middle, and an end. With 3 minutes of talking, that's enough to deliver enough information, but not be rambling so that the interviewer is like, they're just starting to tune you out, right? You want to keep them engaged, keep the story moving forward, but having the section breaks allows you to pause, stop talking, drive the conversation forward by saying, hey, I know I talked enough about this, or maybe I didn't talk enough about that. I can move on to what I did, what we did as a team, or I can move on to the results, or what you have those bridge questions that enable you move the conversation forward. So when we talk about the action part here, and I'm saying, okay, well, look, here's the 5 questions, and we're talking about 4 sentences per, well, that's a page of text. That's a lot. It really is a lot more than you think it is. And this is it. You need to have these. So all the other stuff ends up being fluff. So let's get into it. So number 1, what course of action did you take? Walk me through what you did. But this is super important and something I see again and again at Interview At. If you'd like to sign up for your own mock interview, please do so at interviewatt.com, where not only do we have the ability to sign up for free mock interviews, you can purchase our core content library, which has a lot of our interviews broken up and broken down by leadership principle and role, as well as all of my follow-up notes and feedback and coaching and everything that I give to customers who have their free mock interviews. That's in there, anonymized, of course. You also have access to the Guess the LP tool. So if you're having challenges mapping the questions that you get asked in your interviews to the leadership principle, I built a tool specifically for you. So please go ahead and sign up at interviewatt.com. I see this again and again and again when people are answering questions. They want to speak so much. They have so much in their brains that they want to share, and they're not boiling their answers down to the essence of what's important. Remember, I've given you 4 sentences for this. What course of action did you take? If you can't tell me in 4 sentences, your communication skills need work. And it's going to make the whole rest of the interview a mess because you're going to spend so much time with context and setting up. No. What course of action did you take? Just explain it simply as if you were talking to a 6-year-old. Number 2, why did you settle on this course of action? Now, look, the why of the why did you act is not what we're answering here. The why did you act, that's coming from your situation and task. The why that you're answering here is why that course of action versus others. Be very clear and explain why either you as an individual or you as a team lead or whatever, why this was the course of action that was decided on. Number 3, and this is going to get to your ability to work with other teams, or do you work really well as an IC and you just kind of drive things through or whatever, but try to address what counsel you sought from other team members, other employees, or what other outside information outside of the walls of your organization did you seek to better inform the decision about the course of action that you were going to take? 4, this is one that gets missed all the time. I try to ask these in follow-up questions. I like to push really hard in the interview, but then in the follow-up sessions, what I tend to do is call back to, hey, do you remember when I asked this question? Here's why, and here's how you can make your answers better. What alternatives did you consider and reject? Even if you speak of just one, it's really important that you are able to convey that you understand not only why that course of action, but why it was the best. And then contrast it against other ideas that maybe bubbled up and surfaced and you considered and rejected, but it shows that you're not linear in your thinking. It shows that you're not myopic in your thinking. It says, hey, we considered a bunch of things. This is the one we chose. This is why, but we looked at this other one and here's why we didn't choose it. Really important. Sets you up as a much better kind of bigger thinker type leader. Number 5, this is another one. Look, over and over again in my videos, I say data, metrics. Have this content available. It gets left out all the time, and I get it. It's sometimes hard to remember the numbers. But one of the things that you need to be able to convey, especially if you're a leader or future leader, is you understand that it's not simply enough to act. You have to be able to explain to whomever is going to ask the questions later, how were you going to know that you were being successful? And usually that's tied to data, metrics, tracking, something that lets you know that the curve is going in the right direction. Either bug counts or customer contacts are going way down because they're not filing as many tickets, or sign up rates are going to the moon, or whatever it is. But you took an action. You had a reason why. But after the fact, you're going to have to be able to talk about why that was the right course of action. And usually it's tied to a metrics or set of frameworks that you put in place to monitor the results in your results section, which we'll talk about next week. All right, well, that's it for this week. The 5 questions you need to make sure you are answering when you are focusing on the action portion of your STAR answer within your job interview. Hopefully you got something out of this. If you liked it, I'd really love it if you go ahead and like the video. If you loved it, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again next week.